Well, she must have dumped him or he wouldn't be so depressed.
Yeah, that's it.
In the 1990s, Jonathan Taylor Thomas wasn't just a teen idol. He was the teen idol. As the witty and charming Randy Taylor on the smash hit sitcom Home Improvement, he captured the hearts of millions. His boyish smile, effortless humor, and undeniable charisma made him one of the most recognizable young stars in Hollywood. Posters of him covered bedroom walls, magazines couldn't get enough, and fans followed his every move. But just as quickly as he rose to fame, he disappeared. By the late 90s, Jonathan Taylor Thomas seemed to vanish from the spotlight entirely. No scandals, no public meltdowns, no dramatic farewells. One day he was everywhere, and the next he was gone. Hollywood insiders were baffled, and fans kept asking the same question. Why would someone at the peak of fame just walk away? Over the years, quiet rumors swirled. Some said he was tired of fame. Others claimed there was more to his disappearance than anyone realized. Few knew the truth until now. Behind the charm and success, Jonathan was battling pressures far greater than most could imagine, struggling to find balance in an industry that rarely lets its stars breathe. In this video, we'll uncover what really happened to Jonathan Taylor Thomas after Home Improvement. His shocking decision to leave Hollywood, the hidden reasons behind his retreat, and where life has taken him since. Because sometimes the most mysterious stories in show business aren't about scandal. They're about the courage to walk away. Before his quiet disappearance from Hollywood, Jonathan Taylor Thomas was one of the most beloved young actors of his generation. Born on September 8, 1981, in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Jonathan was drawn to performing from an early age. His natural charisma and confidence set him apart, and by the time he was 8, he was already booking commercials and small television roles. But his big break came in 1991 when he was cast as Randy Taylor, the middle son on Home Improvement, a role that would change his life forever. Home Improvement wasn't just another family sitcom. It became one of the defining shows of the 1990s. Tim Allen's portrayal of the accident-prone father, Tim the Toolman Taylor, made audiences laugh. But it was Jonathan who brought heart and relatability to the show. His clever one-liners, comedic timing, and genuine warmth made him a fan favorite almost instantly. Week after week, millions tuned in not just for the laughs, but to see what Randy Taylor would say next. By his early teens, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, or JTT, as fans affectionately called him, had become a cultural phenomenon. He graced the covers of Tiger Beat, 17, and Teen People magazines. His smile was everywhere, his popularity rivaling that of any pop star at the time. He was the voice of young Simba in Disney's The Lion King, a role that brought him global fame and established him as one of the most successful child actors of the decade. Hollywood saw him as unstoppable. Studios lined up with offers, and fans adored him. He starred in a series of hit movies, including Man of the House, Tom and Huck, and Wild America. Each film reinforced his image as the charming, all-American kid who could do no wrong. On the surface, Jonathan's life seemed perfect. Fame, money, adoration. But behind that success, something else was brewing. Even as a teenager, Jonathan was different from most of his peers in Hollywood. While other young stars chased fame, he valued privacy and control. He once said in an interview, "You can't be trapped by fame. You have to live your own life." Those words would later prove to be prophetic. As Home Improvement grew into a cultural juggernaut, Jonathan started to feel the pressure that came with it. The constant attention, the endless interviews, and the lack of personal space began to wear him down. He wasn't just acting in a TV show. He was balancing school, fame, and the expectations of millions. His mother, Claudine, worked as his manager and tried to keep him grounded, emphasizing education over celebrity. Jonathan excelled academically and developed a deep love for learning, something that would later drive one of the biggest decisions of his life. By the mid-1990s, Jonathan was everywhere, but he was already questioning it all. Fame had given him everything he thought he wanted, but it also came with stress and isolation. The cameras never stopped, the scripts kept coming, and the weight of being a teenage superstar began to feel overwhelming. He often spoke about wanting to be a normal kid, to go to school, travel, and live life without being watched. Still, he remained a consummate professional on set. His co-stars described him as polite, intelligent, and serious beyond his years. Tim Allen, his on-screen father, once called him one of the smartest young actors I've ever worked with. But even Allen noticed that Jonathan was beginning to pull away. As the show entered its later seasons, whispers began that Jonathan might leave. At first, fans dismissed it. How could Home Improvement continue without Randy Taylor? But behind the scenes, Jonathan was already making plans for an exit that would shock Hollywood and mark the beginning of his mysterious disappearance. What no one realized then was that Jonathan Taylor Thomas wasn't just walking away from a TV show. He was walking away from an entire lifestyle he no longer wanted. By the late 1990s, Jonathan Taylor Thomas had achieved more in his teenage years than most actors accomplish in a lifetime. He was a household name, adored by fans around the world, and Hollywood studios were eager to cast him in every teen-friendly blockbuster imaginable. Yet behind the charm and celebrity, Jonathan was grappling with a growing sense of unease about the life he was leading. Fame, once thrilling, had begun to feel like a cage. While the cameras captured his boyish grin and flawless performances, Jonathan was quietly yearning for normalcy. He wanted to experience the kind of life most teenagers took for granted, attending school without being recognized in hallways, hanging out with friends without paparazzi snapping pictures, and simply enjoying the freedom to be himself. The more he reflected on his future, the more he realized that staying in Hollywood might mean sacrificing the personal growth and independence he craved. In 1998, at just 17 years old, Jonathan made a choice that stunned fans and Hollywood insiders alike. He decided to step away from acting, at least temporarily, to focus on his education. While some viewed this as an unusual move for someone at the height of their career, Jonathan was determined. He wanted to go to college, pursue a broader range of interests, and develop skills outside of the entertainment bubble. This decision was less about rejection of Hollywood and more about a conscious choice to reclaim his life and identity. He enrolled at Harvard University, one of the most prestigious institutions in the country. While at Harvard, Jonathan focused on literature and philosophy, subjects that allowed him to explore new ideas and challenge himself intellectually. For someone who had grown up on movie sets and television studios, the college environment was a dramatic shift. It was slower, quieter, and more demanding in ways that didn't involve memorizing lines or hitting marks. Yet Jonathan embraced it wholeheartedly. During this time, the public saw him less frequently. Magazines that once celebrated his every move speculated endlessly about his absence. Some fans feared he had fallen from grace or that Hollywood had forgotten him. But Jonathan remained committed to his personal journey. He was no longer interested in being defined by fame. Instead, he wanted to define himself on his own terms. Jonathan's choice also highlighted a rare maturity for someone so young. Many child actors struggle with the transition into adulthood, often clinging to celebrity for validation. Jonathan, however, understood that life outside of Hollywood could offer fulfillment in ways that acting alone could not. By prioritizing education and personal growth, he demonstrated remarkable foresight, even if it meant disappointing millions of fans who had grown up watching him. Even after leaving Home Improvement, Jonathan didn't sever all ties with Hollywood. He appeared in a few film and television projects, but only selectively. Roles that didn't align with his values or that interfered with his studies were passed over. In interviews, he often emphasized that his decision wasn't about rejecting acting entirely, but about finding balance and purpose beyond the screen. By stepping back at the peak of his fame, Jonathan Taylor Thomas transformed from a teen idol into a symbol of self-determination. He showed that even in an industry obsessed with youth and celebrity, it was possible to take control of one's own path. And while fans might have missed him on television, his courage to prioritize personal growth over fame laid the foundation for the quieter, more private life he leads today. After stepping away from the relentless glare of Hollywood, Jonathan Taylor Thomas embraced a life that few would have expected from the teen idol of the 90s. No longer under the constant scrutiny of fans and media, he was free to explore his interests, deepen his education, and live without the pressures of fame. But this transition wasn't without its challenges. For someone who had spent most of his formative years in the public eye, The shift to a quieter, more private life required adjustment, patience, and a re-evaluation of priorities. At Harvard, Jonathan thrived academically. Surrounded by peers who didn't know him as Randy Taylor, he could simply be a student. He immersed himself in literature, philosophy, and cultural studies, finding joy in intellectual exploration rather than celebrity recognition. For the first time, he could engage in debates, write papers, and experience growth, without a camera capturing his every move. College life gave him the opportunity to reflect on his childhood fame and what it had taught him about resilience, self-discipline, and the value of personal privacy. During this period, Jonathan maintained only selective involvement in Hollywood. He appeared occasionally in guest roles and small projects, but turned down high-profile offers that could have propelled him back into the spotlight. His choices were deliberate. He wanted work that aligned with his values, not projects that were purely for fame or financial gain. Many insiders admired his ability to make these decisions at such a young age, a level of maturity rarely seen among child stars who often struggle to navigate the transition to adulthood. Away from acting, Jonathan focused on personal growth in other areas. He traveled, pursued hobbies, and deepened his relationships with family and close friends. The freedom to lead a normal life was something he cherished. While the world remembered him as the witty, charming son from Home Improvement, Jonathan was quietly building a different version of himself. Educated, grounded, and self-reliant. Despite the distance from Hollywood, fans continued to follow his life. Every appearance or interview generated attention and speculation. Many wondered if he would ever return to acting full-time, but Jonathan never rushed. He remained committed to his principle of balance, pursuing his passions on his terms, without the pressures of industry expectation. In interviews over the years, he reflected on his time in the spotlight with gratitude but also with honesty. Fame had given him opportunities, friendships, and experiences few could imagine. Yet it also came with sacrifices, privacy, normal teenage experiences, and freedom. Jonathan acknowledged these sacrifices without regret, emphasizing that the choice to step away allowed him to grow as a person and define life on his own terms. By living outside of the public eye, Jonathan Taylor Thomas exemplified a rare kind of success, one measured not by awards or box office numbers, but by personal fulfillment and self-determination. He proved that it is possible to leave behind the pressures of celebrity and still lead a meaningful, rich life. While fans remembered him as a teen idol, those closest to him saw the young man who had matured with wisdom beyond his years, someone who had chosen growth over glamour and authenticity over fame. Jonathan's story reminds us that leaving the spotlight is not a failure. It is a conscious choice to reclaim control of one's life. His journey continues to inspire, showing that sometimes the bravest act of all is stepping away from the world's expectations to forge your own path. As the years passed, Jonathan Taylor Thomas became increasingly private, choosing to live life largely away from the Hollywood spotlight. For many fans, this disappearance sparked endless speculation. Was he unhappy? Had he failed to transition into adult acting? The truth, however, was far simpler and far more profound. Jonathan's life had shifted focus, from fame and public approval to personal growth, education, and meaningful experiences. After completing his studies at Harvard University, Jonathan avoided the typical Hollywood path. Unlike many former teen stars who struggle with the pressures of adulthood in the entertainment industry, he built a life rooted in stability and choice. He pursued opportunities selectively, taking on projects that aligned with his values or challenged him creatively, rather than chasing commercial success. While occasional cameos reminded audiences of his acting talent, Jonathan's priorities had fundamentally changed. Friends and colleagues who have stayed in touch with him describe someone grounded, thoughtful, and remarkably self-aware. He enjoys a quiet lifestyle filled with simple pleasures, reading, traveling, spending time with family, and engaging in personal projects that bring him satisfaction. Unlike the whirlwind of celebrity life, this quieter existence allows him to reflect on his achievements without the relentless pressure of public scrutiny. It is a life that many in Hollywood might envy but few achieve. Jonathan has occasionally shared insights into his perspective on fame, reflecting on the lessons learned during his time as a child star. He emphasizes the importance of self-respect, patience, and the courage to prioritize personal well-being over public expectations. He often remarks that the most valuable experiences are not the awards, magazine covers, or red carpet appearances, but the moments of authentic connection and self-discovery that fame often obscures. Interestingly, Jonathan has never completely abandoned acting. Rather, he approaches it on his own terms. He remains open to projects that resonate deeply with him, but the relentless pursuit of fame is no longer a motivating factor. This deliberate choice has allowed him to maintain his privacy while continuing to engage with his craft in meaningful ways. For fans, the story of Jonathan Taylor Thomas serves as a reminder that stepping away does not mean giving up. His life today is a testament to the power of choice, choosing education over celebrity, growth over acclaim, and self-respect over expectation. He demonstrates that success is not solely measured by visibility or accolades, but by the ability to live life authentically and deliberately. In many ways, Jonathan Taylor Thomas embodies a modern lesson for child stars and audiences alike. It is possible to walk away from the spotlight without losing relevance, to reclaim one's life, and to prioritize the things that truly matter. While millions may remember him as the witty, charming Randy Taylor, those who have followed his journey understand that the real story is one of wisdom, self-determination, and the courage to define life on one's own terms. Today, Jonathan Taylor Thomas is a far cry from the teen idol who once dominated television screens in the 1990s. He lives a life largely away from the public eye, embracing privacy, personal growth, and pursuits that matter most to him. While fans may not see him gracing magazine covers or starring in blockbuster films, his impact remains undeniable, both in Hollywood and in the hearts of those who grew up watching him. Jonathan's decision to step away from fame allowed him to explore new paths. Education became a central focus, giving him perspective and balance that few former child stars achieve. Over the years, he has selectively returned to acting, choosing roles that align with his values and creative interests rather than for publicity or financial gain. This careful curation of work has kept him connected to his craft while maintaining the life he prefers, one free from the constant glare of Hollywood. Despite his absence from the spotlight, Jonathan's legacy endures. He is remembered not only for his talent as Randy Taylor on Home Improvement or as the voice of young Simba in The Lion King, but also for the grace with which he navigated fame. Unlike many child stars, he avoided scandal and maintained a level of maturity that allowed him to transition into adulthood on his own terms. His story stands as a rare example of a young actor successfully balancing public success with personal integrity. Fans continue to admire Jonathan for his intelligence, humility, and thoughtfulness. Those who worked with him on set speak of his professionalism and kindness, traits that contributed to his enduring reputation as one of Hollywood's most grounded young stars. Even in brief appearances or interviews, he exudes the same warmth and authenticity that made audiences fall in love with him decades ago. Ultimately, Jonathan Taylor Thomas serves as a reminder that success is not defined solely by fame or visibility. His life today reflects a quiet victory, a life lived deliberately, with choices made according to personal values rather than public expectation. The boy who once captured the world's attention has grown into a man who values authenticity, education, and meaningful connections. For those who remember the charm, humor, and heart of JTT, his story remains inspiring. It's not just about the roles he played, but the courage to step away, find his own path, and remain true to himself. Jonathan Taylor Thomas may no longer be a constant presence on television, but his legacy of talent, wisdom, and quiet resilience continues to resonate, proving that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones lived away from the spotlight.